told Mishpaka, Shimi Yakajai Yisrael, Hayamit Eth Mate Shal Yehuda, Tehila Yahweh, Tehila Yahweh Ben Yahweh. Good morning, family. My name is Akaziah Yisrael, and I exist from the tribe of Yehuda. Praise Yahweh, and praise Yahweh Ben Yahweh. This morning, we will be talking about the Sabbath day. Oh yes, it's going to be a good one. We will be proving through the studies the rotation of the solar day, as well going deeper into the formalities of the creation of the leap years that the Babylonians created and that the Romans transcribed and improved upon, and then what is being used today. We are going to go over a whole lot. And we're going to break these videos down, of course, in about 20-minute segments so that people don't get bored and so that you can try to retain as much of this information as possible. And then, of course, you know I'm going to have the master teacher with his own mouth tell you the Sabbath rotates as well. Too many of us are stuck in time. And too many of us watched one video and they don't hear anything else about the Sabbath rotation because they think the 1983 video is the finalized version of when Yahweh Ben Yahweh was talking about the Gregorian calendar and leap year and the solar calendar, but they don't hear. He said you can technically keep it on one day on the solar calendar. Why? If you mesh it with the Gregorian calendar, so you're still following that formality of being stuck in time. But on the solar calendar, it rotates yearly. And we will be proving this. So, first things first, the Sabbath Yom, right? Sin Beth Tav for Sabbath, and then Yom is day. Yud Wav Mem Sofi. Now, Sabbath is the intermission, right? It's to repose, to desist from exertion. Is to cease from work and celebrate this day of rest. And we are commanded to keep it throughout our generations forever. We are instructed to put away all personal desires, whether that be video games, TV watching, music listening, working out, partying, whatever, cooking, whatever, cleaning up your house, going to the car wash, going to the grocery store. You are not supposed to leave your dwelling. You are supposed to just rest and be in the Word the whole day. Yahweh give you 6 days to do whatever you need to get done. And he just asks that on that 7th day you give it to him. See, that's the 10th. That's the same thing as following Exodus 30 and 13. For one shekel, a half a shekel is 10 garnishes. So that means a full shekel is 20. Right? He's just asking you for that 1 day out of 6. See, that's a 10th. And he's saying, rest. Get your strength back. And just be grateful for all the things you do. And just be grateful for your existence. Because I created all of it. Right? It is this day is specifically reserved for praising Yahweh, as it states in Isaiah 58, verse 11 through 13. Here, let's just open up Isaiah. Isaiah 58, right? Verse 11 to 13. And the Lord Yahweh shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones. And thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose waters faileth not. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundation of many generations. And thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasures on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord Yahweh, ben Yahweh, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasures, nor speaking thy own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord Yahweh, ben Yahweh, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob's thy father, for the mouth of the Lord Yahweh hath spoken it. Praise Yahweh. So we are instructed that if we was to follow it, then we'll get more blessings. Right? So from the New Unger's Bible Dictionary, secession is from exertion, and the Sabbath is comparable to all festival days by restrictions and obliging. The origin comes from Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. Yahweh resting on the seventh day, right? The Sheba Yom, the seventh day. The Babylonian society tablets called our seventh day an evil day or an unlucky day. Can you believe that? This is from the Unger's Bible Dictionary. The Babylonian society tablets called the seventh day an evil. Right? The New Unger's Bible Dictionary states again that the Babylonian society tablets called the seventh day an evil day or an unlucky day. Wow. You know, that goes with Lamentations chapter 1, verse 7. Let's just take a look at that really quick to prove this knowledge. They called our Sabbath day, they mocked it. They mocked it and called it an evil day. Wow, check this out. Lamentations chapter 1, verse 7. Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction and of her miseries all her pleasant things that she had had in the days of old, when the people fell into the hands, right, of the enemy. None did help her, and the adversary saw her and did mock at her Sabbaths. Look at that. They mocking our Sabbath. They call it an evil day. They call it an evil day. Wow. Whereas scriptures describe the holy day, the Babylonians only placed prohibitions on the kings and seers and physicians, whereas the Old Testament makes the Sabbath binding to all. No sensations of businesses, activities on the Babylonian and special days, right? There are man-made holidays like Christmases, Saturnalia, where Christmas comes from, New Year's, Easter's, the birth of the unconquered sun on December 25th, which is where your Christmas day again comes from. But the Sabbath day, they want to mock. Babylonians used the lunar calendar, moon, not equivalent to the Hebrew solar calendar. The Sabbath was of divine institution, meaning of divine instruction. It was divinely taught. And This is from Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, and Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, as well as 31, verse 17. Let's run to those scriptures really quickly. Praise Yahweh. We had a divine institution of Yahweh giving us the law in the cool of the evening when we were Adam. And yet, the enemies of Israel, the enemies of Yahweh, mocked our holy day. And they called it evil. And then they erected false days, lie days, evil, wicked days. And they call those days good. See, this reminds me of Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20, where it says, woe to you who call good evil and evil good. Woe. Right? Genesis chapter 2, verse 3. And Yahweh blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in that he had rested from all his work, which Yahweh created and made. Wow. That don't sound evil to me. Resting from all the work that you have created and made? That sounds like a well-deserved rest. Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. Praise Yahweh. Like I said, we're going to break these down into 20-minute segments, because it's a lot of information, and I want you to retain it. Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, made heaven and the earth, and the sea, and all the men, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. The next was 31:17. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord Yahweh, Ben Yahweh, made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Praise Yahweh. So this is why we are instructed to rest, because we, being the blood children of Yahweh, we follow the rules of our Father's house. Praise Yahweh. Okay? The Sabbath was a means of a binding force together, which made us more closely to Yahweh, the chosen black Hebrews, and keeping us apart from the rest of mankind. No cooking, as was stated in Exodus 35, verse 3. Exodus 35, verse 3. No cooking. Right? You're not even supposed to turn the stove on. Now, you can heat your food up, but you're not supposed to be throwing down in that kitchen on the Sabbath day. You know what I'm saying? Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitation upon the Sabbath day. Praise Yahweh. But people, if you don't know, then you still get whipped and punished by Yahweh. You just get half the beating if you don't know your master's will and you break it ignorantly. But if you break your master's will and you know, then you should be beaten with many stripes. Right? We all know the book of Luke. But let's go ahead and march on through this word here. We are also forbidden from gathering any materials, right? Numbers 15, verse 32 to 36. No burden bearing. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 21 to 27. No traveling, right? Exodus 16, verse 29. No trading. The book of Amos, chapter 8, verse 5, closing of the gates. Nehemiah, chapter 10, verse 31, as well as chapter 13, verse 15 and 19, as well as in Isaiah, chapter 58, verse 2 and 13. the Sabbath and keeping it. We are instructed. See, the civil years of the Israelites commenced in autumn, which was the second equinox, and the ecclesiastical year in Abib about mid-March, which would be March 17th, or Abib 17th, or on Abib 17th, or March 17th was Abib 1 to mid-April. Now, the sabbatical year from Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 1 through 2, is the year of release. It's also the Jubilee, which is in 7 times 7 sabbatical years, or 49 years. And every 7 years, you would give the land rest. You would not farm that land on that 7th year. You give it a rest. See, even the ground follows a sabbatical rule, right? You're not supposed to toil or till the soil on the 7th year. You give it a whole year's rest. Sounds like a whole lot of farming got to be done on that 6th year now, don't it? So you got food for that 7th year. And this is why we're supposed to be busy like the ant, right? Now, the Pictorial Bible Dictionary states, 40 years later, Moses, reminding the Israelites of Yahweh, commanded to observe the Sabbath and told them that they are under special obligation to keep it because Yahweh delivered them from the bondage of Egypt, which is in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 15. A willful Sabbath breaker was put to death. Numbers chapter 15, verse 32 to 36. What is the keeper of time? The sun or the moon? Well, again, from the Unger Bible Dictionary, we get this. Sun, called in history of creation the greater light, which contradictions to the moon or the lesser light, in conjunction with which it was to serve for signs and for seasons, for days and years. Its special office was to govern the day. People say, what day is it? They don't say, what night is it? They say, what day is it? It's Monday. No. What day? Oh, it's the 13th. Okay, thank you. Right? Day. The sun is to rule the day. And the only reason you see the moon at night is because it reflects the sun. That's it. If the sun was not there, you would not see the moon at all. It's just a reflection, right? So this is why we follow the sun. As well, it is the symbolic reference or the homonym of S-O-N. See, the sun is just the spiritual part of the S-O-N, right? And we find this information in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 and 16. See, the signs referred to were the solar equinox that occurs in spring and as well as in autumn, as well as eclipses. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2, as well as Matthew chapter 24, verse 29. Sunrise to sunsets are the only defined points of time. The solar calendar is what we should all be following, for Yahweh rested on the 7th day, not night. Though our evenings, our days do start at evening, the sun is still up, but it's just one cycle, right? From evening to evening, evening is the sun is still up, we're just in the evening chambers of the day. So when they try to run that trick on you, right, when it's 12 a.m. and they say it's a brand new day, oh, no, it's not. It's still that same day. The morning is still that same day until that evening time. And that's when the day change. Don't let them trick you now. The moon is the terms that were used to designate the moon contains no references to its office or essential character. They simply described it by the accidental quality of color. pale or yellow and white. Now, day is the revolution of time regulated by interchanging in light as well as in darkness. And it is the true morning and evening of the first 3 days. There was not producing by the rising of the sun, since the sun was not created yet, but constantly reoccurring interchanging of lights and darknesses, which produce day and night upon the earth, cannot for a moment be understood as denoting that light called forth from darkness out of chaos and then returned to that darkness again. I'm going to read that one more time. Day is the revolution of time regulated by interchanging of light and darkness, and it is true the morning and evening of the first 3 days were not produced by the rising of the sun, since the sun was not created yet, but constantly reoccurring of interchanging of lights and darkness when produced day and night upon the earth cannot for a moment be understood as denoting, meaning as the origins that light is called forth from darkness of chaos and then return to that darkness again, and thus periodically burst forth out and disappeared. That's not how it worked. The only way in which we can represent it to ourselves is by supposing that light called forth by the creative mandated of volcanic eruptions, and then water comes in contact, shaping the dry land of the earth, which causes light to first be created, and then the revolving of the planets being formed is what constituted the day and night, and was separated from darkness of the earth and concentrated on the outside or above the earth as soon as it began to rotate. Let that sink in. Read that one more time. And thus periodically burst forth and disappeared. We cannot think that light in the midst of chaos somehow gained strength to burst out for a certain amount of time, got weak, and then was called back into this chaos of darkness. That's not how it works. It's not. The only way in which we can represent it to ourselves is by supposing that light called forth by the creative mandate of the volcanic eruptions, and then water coming in contact to shape the dry land of the earth, which causes light to first be created from the magma pluming out and water making contact with it, causing the shape of the earth's crust, as well as the inner layers and all of that stuff, so that as water kept falling for, again, we have to understand one day of God is 1,000 years of man. So as the rotation when one side was being formed, light would show, and then as it rotated, light would disappear, and it would be darkness. That's how we get the light and darkness, right? On the physical scale, right? So the volcanic eruptions and water comes in contact, shaping the dry land of the earth, which causes light to first be created, and then the revolving planet being formed is what constituted day and night, which was separated from darkness of the earth and concentrated on the outside or above the earth as soon as it begins to rotate. Proof: Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. And Yahweh made 2 great lights, sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night. He made the stars and other planets also, the solar system, on the 4th day. So for the first 3 days, there was no sun, moon. There was no other stars in the solar system. Yahweh was forming the earth. And we see those videos, right, where Yahweh is talking, and he's like, remember, and he's talking and all of that stuff, and you see the earth, and it's like a red ball. That's that fire. That's that magma. That's that volcanic eruption happening. And then the lightning, the chariot shoots lightning to the earth, and it makes it look like the earth that we know. What is lightning? Thunderstorms, thunderclaps. What is thunder? It brings forth rain, which fills up the earth, right? Creating great seas, rivers. right? So we've seen it the whole time. And I'm breaking down the process of how it has been done. Wow. Right? Let's get back to it. So, Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. And Yahweh made two great lights, the sun to rule the day and the moon to rule the night. He made the stars and the other planets also, the solar system, on the fourth day. And it didn't make its full circuit till the fifth day. And this is why we have 365 days. Because the sun was not created on the first day, not on the second day, not even on the third day. It was created on the fourth day. 364 days, right? But it didn't make its full circuit around. It ain't do its whole job yet until the fifth day of rotation. It didn't make its complete rotation, right, until the fifth day. And this is why we have 365 days. Praise Yahweh. Now I want to stop it right here because we're already over our 20-minute mark. I love you, family. Thank you for chiming in. We got so much more stuff to talk about. I pray that this information again is entertaining. I pray that you can take this information and inculcate it. And I pray that when you watch a Yahweh video the next time and you see the earth being a little red ball with lines of lava on it, and you see that chariot strike it, and then it looks like the earth that we know today, you could say, yeah, Brother Akhazia broke that down in that class, and now I can see it. I understand it. Praise Yahweh.